What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. And you can see in the thumbnail, today we are going to be talking about the 20 most entertaining fighters in the UFC, in my opinion. Now, look, this list is going to be very subjective. Obviously, a lot of you are going to have different opinions to me. A lot of you are going to say like, oh, you're tripping. What do you mean? How'd you forget this guy? I'm sure there are people that I did forget, but ultimately I think I've done a pretty good job here. I'm talking about fighters who both consistently get finishes, consistently have fun fights when they don't get finishes, and there's minimal stinkers here. You're going to see out of every fighter here, I don't think you're going to be able to count on I don't think you'll even need two hands to count the amount of boring fights these guys have had. So yeah, we're talking about the guys that is in barn burners, always getting finishes, always entertaining the crowd. And yeah, let's get started. Now, first up, this is a bit of a personal preference. You might not have this guy on your list, but I'm going with Bogdan Guskov. Now, look, in my opinion, he's one of the most fun, entertaining fighters in the light heavyweight division right now. He's definitely emerged as a candidate for one of the more entertaining guys in the sport. Look, he's had 3 UFC fights. All of them have been finished. One of them, he got submitted and rocked in the first round and then finished. And then in the other 2, he got a first round KO in one and a second round TKO in the other against Ryan Spann. Look, this guy does not quite have the body of work compared to a lot of guys, and that's why I'm not going to put him too high up. I'm not going to put him above, the Max Holloways of the world, of course. But I think this guy is definitely, Bogdan Guskov's definitely got he's got the potential to really cement himself as one of the most entertaining fighters in the sport. This guy goes in with the Yuri Prohaska style, hands down, looking like an absolute tard. Big power, got a pretty good chin as well, and he just scraps and he just fights retarded, and it's fun, and then he sees who's more retarded, or if you can beat his retardation with actual skill, and most of the time, people can't. So yeah, Bogdan Guskov, underrated contender for one of the most entertaining fighters in the sport right now. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up, we got Edson Barboza. Now, he just lost last week, and he just had a fun scrap, but was on the losing end of it. But Edson Barboza, this guy's body of work is crazy. The amount of knockouts he has, spinning wheel kicks, highlights, all of that. And then fight of the night's amazing scraps. Sadiq Yusuff fight was incredible. The Dan Hooker fight was crazy. There's so many fights that this guy has that is absolutely nuts. So he's definitely worth a mention. Look, with this lower end kind of list, are there definitely guys you could swap out? Yeah, for sure. But I still think Edson's worth a mention, and he's a veteran of the game. He deserves his respect. But let's move on to another fighter. Now, next up on the list, we've got Piotr Yan. Now, this is one where you guys are probably going to see some of the ones coming up and be like, how do you have this guy above Peter Yan? Look, Peter Yan, extremely entertaining fighter. His fights are amazing to watch. They're super technical. They're very good. But he's never, okay, now I shouldn't say that, because the O'Malley fight was really fun. The Sandhagen fight was really fun. But a lot of these fights, they're just kind of, look, I'm not saying technical fights aren't fun. They are. They're very good. But honestly, when I'm putting you on this list and I'm seeing the guys above you that are just getting quick knockouts or just having absolute chuck 'em brawls and just scrapping, that's just I don't know. It's tough because Peter Yan, you definitely could have him higher up. You definitely could put him above some of the other people on this list. But the Song fight was sick. His fights are sick. All of the Marab fight wasn't that great, but that's because he lost to Marab. Even the second Aljo fight wasn't that good. But when he gets a good striker in front of him, the O'Malley fight, the Sandhagen fight, the Song Yadong fight, the Jose Aldo fight, these fights are sick. So definitely worth a mention, Peter Yan, and probably one of the most technical strikers in the UFC right now, which just makes the fights entertaining to watch, even if he's not always just absolutely scrapping. Peter Yan rarely just chucks him and just gets into brawls and has retarded fights like a Bogdan and stuff. But he's still extremely technical and still putting on great shows every time. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Sergey Pavlovich, the under 1.5 rounds merchant himself. The man who you can bet on his fights to go under 1.5 and you would have cashed every single one of those bets. Sergey Pavlovich, or to even end in the first round, let's be honest. But yeah, Sergey Pavlovich, one of the most entertaining fighters in the heavyweight division right now. Closely second, in my opinion, behind one other guy who I'll have on this list. But Pavlovich, man, he goes out there, he either gets knocked out like he did against Aspinall, or he just gets done in the grappling like against Overeem, or if he's winning fights, he's jabbing your face off with lunchboxes, walking you down and TKOing you in the first round. He fucking TKO'd and finished Lewis and Taito Ivasa in both under a minute each. This guy is fun as hell. I'm looking forward to seeing him fight Volkov. I think that's going to be another good scrap. Unless they're just too friendly because they're teammates and they don't want to hurt each other. But Pavlovich, definitely one of the most entertaining guys. Just a guy who goes forward and just swings heavy shots, and you don't want to blink because you might miss a TKO in 45 seconds. But let's move on to the next fighter. Next up on the list is Tom Aspinall, the real heavyweight champion. And look, him and Pavlovich are kind of interchangeable, and it doesn't mean because he beat Pavlovich he's more entertaining than him, but I do think the way in which this guy fights and also mixing it up is entertaining in the grappling too, but something about just how quick he is and how he's just like, his last two fights again, similar to what Pavlovich is doing, just 1 minute KOs. Look, he's had a few fights that haven't been completely all action quick finishes, like he dragged a couple fights into the second round, or maybe like one singular fight. But yeah, Aspinall is a sick fighter. He's quick on the feet. He's powerful. You don't want to turn away for a second because he might miss a KO. And yeah, definitely the most entertaining, or maybe not definitely, but in my opinion, the most entertaining heavyweight on the roster right now. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we got Dricus du Plessis. Now, Dricus, I've put him here on this kind of spot on the list. I don't know what number this is. I should have numbered them, but I lost track. But yeah, Dricus du Plessis, extremely entertaining fighter. Look, the Strickland fight was very fun. The Whittaker fight was very fun, but it's not like they're just all action, crazy wars, chucking them, rock 'em, sock 'em. Like, they're very good fights, and he's still a very fun fighter. Not saying he's not. The Brunson fight was great. The Till fight got a bit weird at times, but it was pretty fun. He just throws a whole lot of punches, so it keeps you engaged because he's always throwing something. It's not like everyone's getting rocked all over the place and they're swinging like tards. I mean, he is kind of swinging like a tard, but yeah, Dricus fights, they're extremely entertaining. There really shouldn't be any critique of anyone on this list. I'm sort of just justifying why he's not higher. When you guys see the guys above him, for the most part, I think you will agree. But yeah, Dricus definitely one of the most entertaining fighters right now. Early in his career, got a lot of KOs recently. He's still got, he finished Rob, but it's not like a KO. Like, he was getting full flat out KOs before. Now it's kind of just beating people up and getting either finishes, submissions, against Till, doctor, or corner stoppage, against Brunson, TKO against Whittaker, decision against Strickland. If we see him go out there and just thump up Izzy, he'll definitely make an entrance in the top 10 of this list. But for now, I'll put him here. Let's move on though to the next fighter. Next up on the list, we got Bernard Saint Denis. Now look, this guy, even though he's coming off a loss, I think people forget, man. Yeah, he's still one of the most entertaining guys in the sport right now. And look, I put up a poll saying who's the most entertaining lightweight right now. And of course, he got just outshadowed by, or he got put in the shadow, I should say, by, Poirier, Charles, Chandler, Gaethje, these guys. But he's stuck in a fucking division of just pure, all action fighters. So obviously, even though he's still one himself, he's not going to get that top spot, of course. But BSD is still one of the most entertaining guys in the sport right now. The Poirier fight was sick, and that wasn't like when there's some fights where one guy makes it fun and the other guy's trying to be boring, but the other guy forces it to be fun. No, BSD, he's all fun, all action. Even in the Poirier fight, it's not like he was crotch sniffing. He was getting takedowns and then just trying to beat Poirier up. He took his back. He was making it an action-packed fight. And then when he's starting to gas out, this man just walks in with his fucking hands down. He was just slugging against the cage with Poirier. Before that, Frivola head kick KO. Before that, Thiago Moises beat him up. That was a really fun fight. Before that, the Bonfim fight was quick, fun. His debut was sick. The Stolze fight was alright, not crazy, but yeah, the Gabriel Miranda KO was sick. This guy's all action. He's always pressing forward. He's always throwing hammers. Yeah, BSD definitely deserves a mention on the list. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, Shum. I've got Alex Pereira. I don't know where he is. This is probably the number 11 spot or something like that. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, Pereira definitely deserves a mention in this list. Now look, is he going out there and having absolute scraps, barn burner fights? No. But he's just always fun. Let's be honest. His debut, flying knee KO. Next fight, Bruno Silva. That was a scrap. That was a war. Then he fought Strickland, knockout in the first. The Izzy fight, first Izzy fight was sick. Not a back and forth war, but there was moments, and obviously he got the finish in the end. Second fight was fun until he got finished. Then he fights Blachowicz, and honestly, it wasn't a crazy good fight, but it was fun, and that was at altitude, so we'll give him the pass. Then he fights Yuri, another banger, scrap, and then he fights Jamal Hill, KOs him. Alex Pereira, he's just one of the most, he's one of the most entertaining fighters to watch. Not pure, brawling action-wise, but just in terms of, the power of this guy makes it, you don't want to not watch. You have to watch, and he just brings eyes to a screen, and you got to watch him fight. But let's move on to another fighter. Next up, we got Yair Rodriguez. Now, look, this guy's one of the most dynamic kickers, one of the most dynamic strikers in the sport right now. Tell me a fight that he's won or that he's like been able to strike that's been boring. Because pretty much all, like the Ortega fight was pretty fun for the most part. Before that, the Volk fight was solid. He was getting taken down a lot, though. Not saying Volk's boring, of course, but like that, obviously when you're not on the feet, it's hard for him to excel and really show how entertaining he is. But like the Holloway fight was amazing. The Emmett fight was sick. This guy's just fun in all of his fights. Look, he doesn't look like his grappling's not very good. So unfortunately, we don't see this guy on the feet all the time. Sometimes people are just going to exploit that grappling weakness. But when he's on the feet, he's getting fucking back elbow KOs and he's just having wars, fight of the nights, fight of the year contenders. So yeah, Yair Rodriguez definitely deserves a mention. Let's move on though to the next fighter. Next up on the list is Ilia Topuria. Now look, I don't like the guy in terms of, he KO'd our little Volk, but he's a sick fighter. Pretty much all of his fights are really fun. The Volk fight, objectively, the KO was very cool, apart from the fact that it was Volk. Before that, he beat up Emmett for 5 rounds. Sick fight. The Mitchell fight was great. Jai Herbert fight was a scrap. KO'd like Damon Jackson. Like, this guy has really good fights. It's not like he's like a grappling, boring fight on the ground, but occasionally gets KOs on the feet. Now, this guy is all dangerous on the feet. He's got extremely good power. He's fun to watch strike too. Like, his boxing is fun to watch. And yeah, he's KOing fools all the time. So Ilia Topuria definitely on this list. His placement is debatable, but I don't think there's any doubt he's got to be on this list. Let's move on though to someone else. Next up on the list is Michel Pereira. Now look, if you take away this guy's welterweight career on paper and you just look at his 3 fights so far at middleweight, this dude is like top 5 most entertaining fighters. And that's why I've got him higher up, because it's right now, but I just can't put him up there in the likes of like the Gaethjes and the Yuri Prohaskas. It's not really spoiling anything. You know they're going to be on the list. But yeah, his fights recently have been sick. He's not having crazy back and forth scraps, but he's just finishing cunts and he's just KOing them and backflipping on their fucking lifeless corpse and dropping their heads on the floor. That's what Michel Pereira's doing, and I'm here for it. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we got Conor McGregor. This is my game. This is my game forever. I'm the most entertaining fighter in this business, None of these fools come close to me, the level that I'm at. I'm knocking them out and I'm bouncing. That's the Conor McGregor classic. That's the McGregor prime Mac KOing fools and then just dipping and shit talking, KOing fools, dipping, and then just shit talking some more. That was prime McGregor. That was the Jose Aldo, the Eddie Alvarez, these fights there. The Diaz fights, it was sick. And then, like, he took a big layoff. The Khabib fight, how's Noah? This little fucking Mountie Fields can get it. Then, he came back, obviously, fought Cowboy, another sick KO. The Khabib fight was really the only, like, quote-unquote boring fight that he's had, and that wasn't even boring. Then the Poirier rematch, even though he lost, was still very fun. It was a tough loss. I bounced back, and we'll come back stronger. And then obviously the trilogy. Your wife is your husband. He obviously loses. Fight wasn't the best because he kind of just got held down and beaten up on the ground, but still very fun fighter. And he's coming back to fight Chandler, who's obviously going to be on this list too. The placement's debatable, but yeah. McGregor, one of the most entertaining guys in the sport, no doubt about it. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Next up, we got Diego Lopez. Now, look, this guy, you might say to have him lower, and fair enough, but it's like the hype around this dude. It's the aura. I had to be sounding like Lucas Tracy. But yeah, this guy, he just brings a certain, like, energy to the fight, and it's just sick. Like, the debut, Evloev, he made Evloev, like, an actually really fun fighter. I mean, not even. The second round was kind of dead. But, like, he comes in, has a really good fight with Evloev, then he fucking subs Gavin Tucker in a minute 30, KOs Pat Sabatini in a minute 30, KOs fucking Sadiq Youssef in a minute 30. This guy is just finishing everyone. He's like the featherweight, like Pavlovich in terms of time-wise, not style, but like just time-wise. He's just dishing out KOs in a minute 30. And yeah, Diego Lopez, one of the most entertaining guys in the sport right now, and apparently he's got a fight booked now. He's apparently signed a contract, so hopefully we see him back in the cage soon. But let's move on to another fighter. Next up, we got Sean O'Malley, the bantamweight champion of the world. Probably the most entertaining champion right now in the sport, I would say. One of the most entertaining strikers in the sport, pretty clearly. Like, this guy, watching him strike, he's KOing people. He looks really good even when he's not KOing people. Like, he's styling on them. He's looking good. He's throwing a lot of output. There's no Israel Adesanya kicks at range bullshit. This is all output, all excitement, all action. Sean O'Malley definitely deserves a placement on the list. So fair play. Even though he might be a cuck, the cuck can definitely fight and he can throw some good strikes and he's fun to watch, just like he has fun watching. But let's move on though to the next fighter. Now I've gone with Michael Chandler. Surprise, surprise, there's a new king in the lightweight division. God bless. I'll see you at the plantation. Michael Chandler, definitely one of the most entertaining guys in the sport right now. Just take it back to his debut. KO over Dan Hooker, fights Oliveira in a scrap, gets real scrappy, drops him in the first round, gets finished in the second. Banger. Gaethje, fight of the year. Banger. Ferguson gets dropped in the first, flatline, KO of the year, contender in the second. Banger. Sad, but banger. Poirier fight. First round was a fucking scrap. One of the best rounds of the year. Hurt Poirier bad and then got dropped and was getting, amazing fight. Obviously, then he kind of wrestled a bit. And then in the third round, he got subbed. But still, really fun fight. And now, he's taken time off. P-head. He's fighting Conor McGregor. Obviously, he took his red panty night. He's getting that fight now. What's the weight? The 185. You'll do what you're told. He's sitting out, but now we're seeing him back in there. The fight with Conor, it's not even just oh my god, we get to see Conor back. This fight genuinely is going to be a fucking banger. Conor and Chandler match up stylistically in terms of someone's going to fucking sleep. I'm not saying anything new here, but this fight is just fucking sick, let's be honest. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up on the list, we got Charles do Bronx Oliveira. This guy is a lock for the top 5, honestly, let's be real. He's just sick to watch. He's all action. The Arman fight was not crazy, but even then, he's still getting close with submissions. But yeah, the Poirier, the Gaethje, the Chandler fight. The Ferguson fight wasn't that crazy, but that run, the Beneil fight too, he's just, when he's walking forward, marching you down and just throwing that Muay Thai style in the throwing the kitchen sink at you, he's really fun to watch. But let's move on to another fighter. Next up, we got Max Holloway. We gonna find out Saturday night, brother. We lapping these fools, man. It is what it is. Max Holloway, definitely one of the most entertaining guys in the sport. Solidified by, that KO. Obviously, it was already solidified, but just added to that, just Max Holloway entertainment factor with that KO. He's just sick to watch. Look, the Arnold Allen fight was fun. The, what was the other one? The zombie fight was sick with the KO. But yeah, the Allen fight was solid, but not crazy. And I kind of, the third Volk fight wasn't crazy fun. But yeah, the Cater fight, the Yair fight, the Gaethje fight with the KO at the end. Even that fight wasn't crazy until the KO. But yeah, this guy's always fun. He's always giving scraps. The output when he's on, it's just fun to watch. There's no doubt about it. Holloway definitely a top guy on this list. Let's move on though to another fighter. Next up, we got P-head, Dustin Poirier, the Diamond himself, fighting in a couple of days' time, in just over a week time against Makhachev. He's definitely one of the most entertaining guys on this list. Now, look, you can kind of differ this up and you can say, oh, Poirier should be 5, Holloway should be 3, or this or this. You can kind of switch it around, but I think he's still definitely a top 5 guy. Consistently bangers. BSD fight, Chandler fight, Gaethje fight, both of them. Alvarez fights, Conor fights, Dan Hooker fight, Chandler fight, every single Oliveira fight, every single one of these guys fucking fights. It's just sick to watch. There's no doubt about it. He's a top dude on this list. Let's move on though to another guy. Now we got Justin Gaethje next to highlight himself. Now look, again, you can put him behind or ahead of Poirier. You could put him number 1 if you want. I've got one more guy after this. But Gaethje, every single fight is sick. Holloway, Poirier, Oliveira, Chandler, Ferguson, Barboza, Michael Johnson, Alvarez, all of these guys' fights are fucking bangers. Certified hood classics, we call them. The Fiziev fight too, worth a mention. Yeah, this guy's just having bangers anytime he steps in the cage. Definitely a top 3, top 5 guy on this list. I've got him at number 2, but now, who is number 1? In my opinion, now this is opinion again, in my opinion, Yuri Prohaska is the most entertaining fighter in the UFC right now. I'm not going to say in history, but right now I believe Yuri is the most entertaining guy on the roster. Just look at his fights. Even the Rakic fight, banger. Pereira fight, sick. Glover fight of the year. Reyes, fucking knockout of the year contender. Ozdemir, knockout of the year contender. This guy, 5 fights. Ozdemir, Reyes, Glover, Pereira, Rakic. Every single one of them, either a fight of the night or a performance of the night and bonus, fight of the year or knockout of the year candidates too. This guy's just always having bangers. He's never boring. He's always fun, fighting with pure autism alone. And yeah, that's Yuri Prohaska, the most entertaining guy in the sport right now, in my opinion. But that is the video done, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments which fighters you think are the most entertaining fighters in the sport. If I missed anyone, let me know. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.